Itepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasankma Keparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how Donald Trump is a divine distraction. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button. And also, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or upload recorded videos. Also, if you haven't had an opportunity, you can download some free ebooks that we have available that gets more into the esoteric and the spiritual, kind of expands on its teachings that I'm giving you now. And if you really want to go deep and take that deep dive approach, become a Patreon supporter. You can do so for as little as $1 or $5 per month. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos, which will take you to the next level in showing you how to perform a ritual, proper breathing techniques, how to use oracles, how to put together a talisman, how to summon spirits to help you out. So that's all on Patreon, so become a supporter. So I want to talk a little bit about how Donald Trump is a divine distraction. So one of the things I talked about in previous videos, a lot of videos, that when the election results were announced, many people were shocked that Donald Trump had won. And some were very upset and dismay. And I talked about how there was a split, and those of us who needed Donald Trump to be president, who were on that vibrational frequency, shifted to a reality where Donald Trump became president. Okay. And those of us who needed Hillary Clinton to be president and we're on that vibrational frequency, we shifted to where she's president in an alternate parallel world. So there are some of us who are living in a parallel world where Hillary Clinton is president. And you will get an example of this that comes out of what is the name? The Mandela effect. And if you're not familiar with that, you should Google that and research it, where many people remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison. Other people remember Nelson Mandela getting out of prison and becoming president of South Africa. Those are splits in the space-time continuum because, as I've always said, whatever frequency you're vibrating at, you will move or you will quantum leap to a parallel reality that is in alignment with that frequency. So one of the things I want to tell you is, just because people have access to big platforms or mics that can make their voice expand and you can hear the echo effects, and that they're so prominent in mainstream media or on the internet, doesn't necessarily mean that they write and they know what they're talking about. What you'll find is a lot in the spiritual community, people are talking about things, but they don't walk the talk. So, of course, a lot of us who are naive to spirituality, you'll fall victim to these individuals and you'll think that they have some type of reservoir of knowledge when they actually don't, because most often they're just regurgitating information that they may have heard or read about. And I don't want to name any names, but you will see how what's the expression, the colloquial expression, you'll know the tree by the fruit it bears, or something to that effect. You should be able to take a look at their lives and take a critical look at what they say and see if it holds water. And most oftentimes it will not. I remember when I was in the priesthood and many people were telling me, not to go to California because it's full of evil people, as if New York wasn't full of evil people. You know what I mean? And I refer back to the Bible about being in the world but not of it, or in it but not of it, meaning that no matter where you go, you'll always be there. And you're going to take with you your baggage, you'll take with you your mindset, you'll take with you your spirit. And if you're a spiritual person, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to practice your spirituality. You know what I mean? If you're a health conscious person who likes to eat right and likes to work out, I don't care where you go, you're not going to just abandon that regimen in favor of eating pork chops and ribs. No, you're going to stay the course. So when I hear people talk about, oh, don't go here, don't go there, there's very unspiritual people, it's Sin City. Well, I'm like, well, that reality does not exist for me, because wherever I go, I vibrate at a certain frequency that aligns me to a very spiritual aspect. And what happens then when you go to a place like Babylon and you're operating at a very spiritual level, you will attract spiritual people within that environment. And I've always told you that we all live in our own reality. We all live in our own space-time continuum. We don't actually share the same reality. We don't. We may live in proximity to one another, but that doesn't mean we're experiencing the same reality, because your reality is very subjective. And you call forth the things that are in your reality by the belief system that you harbor. And if your belief systems are based on very spiritual principles, then you're going to see the manifestation of spiritual things in your environment, in your material world. So if you are upset about Don Trump or the Donald being president, then you have to take a look at yourself and say, what is it that I believe that called for me to shift to this vibrational level to where I'm now in this parallel reality to where he is president? You have to look at yourself. And you would be surprised how many spiritual individuals don't understand that as a point of fact. So they get to blaming all the things as like, well, there was this hidden segment in society that was not being heard, and Donald Trump was their voice, and this is why he became president. That's not true. Let me explain something to you. Do not get caught up in the two-party political system or the Hegelian dialectic, because it's a distraction. You see, I've gone to people's channels who have been in the conspiracy theory arena for 20 years. 20 years, and they still haven't figured it out that it doesn't matter who's president, because you have the machine that's behind them, that's operating, that's pulling the strings. The individual in office is a puppet. What you want is the person who is behind the curtain, the wizard. So what they get you to do is focus on the office, focus on the individual. And every 4 years is the same. It's the same agenda. It's the same program. Someone runs for president. They promise to make a total overhaul, a change, a better America, a better future, and you buy into that. But what you really should be saying is, I am going to divest myself of this political system. It's corrupt, and it's going nowhere. How many times are we going to fall victim to this? We have seen this over and over again, president after president. I don't care if you have a woman in there. I don't care if you have a black president in there. I don't care if you have a purple president. I don't care if you have the Dalai Lama or Captain Kirk. Their system is corrupt, and it will not stop what it's doing. Put the Dalai Lama in there, and I guarantee you, if he doesn't play ball according to what the Illuminati wants, he will be assassinated like JFK. So these individuals that come along and are talking about how bad Trump is, I don't want to hear it, because that means you are taking part in the Hegelian dialectic. That means that you believe that one person in that position in office will be able to change things and make America better. No, that's not true. Just as I told individuals, in the African American community, when they were so elated to hear that so and so African American woman was head of the Oscars, or I said, when you see those token positions and those token people that get in office, they have done so because they have been vetted to the liking of the board. And the board has said, this person will go along with our program, let's put them in office. You're not going to have somebody who's going to be radical and revolutionary in office, in the presidency. It's not going to happen. So getting caught up on Don Trump is a divine distraction. It's a distraction away from the fallacy and the belief that a two-party system is actually a choice. It's not a choice. Bad and worse. You're not given a real choice. And you just go along with that. Oh, Donald Trump said this racist thing, or he talked about this wall, he talked about the immigrants. So what? So what? Would you rather have a person in office who doesn't say that stuff publicly, but says that stuff behind closed doors? They're all corrupt, all of them. Every one of them, and the entire system has to come down. Let me say it again. I don't care who is in office, nothing will change. Look at slavery, the transatlantic slave trade. Do you know that was legitimized by the Pope and the Queen of England? You can't get no higher in spirituality than those two for their time. And the Queen saw the profits from the slave trade, and then all of a sudden, well, first she came out denouncing it, and then when she saw the profits from it, then she was on board. And the way the Pope justified the slave trade was to say that they didn't believe in God and they were pagans. You've got to wake up and realize what is going on. Now, the reason why I call it a divine distraction, because it is meant to help you spiritually grow. Whenever I want more spiritual powers, what the spirits will do is it will make my life a living hell. They will create obstruction after obstruction after obstruction. And I cry, woe is me. I go to my ancestors and my spirits, why is life so hard? And they in turn look at me and say, well, didn't you say you wanted more power? Didn't you want to be a sorcerer supreme? Didn't you want to be a Shechem or Shechem? Didn't you want to be a master magician? Well, we're creating these obstructions so that when you come home, you can shut the TV off and the computer off and do your rituals and do your magic and practice until you become the best. That's why we're creating those obstructions. Because you asked for it. And whether you like it or not, you asked for this two-party political system. You are reincarnated into this period in time because you made an agreement that you wanted to come here to help the planet transition. So don't cry, oh, Trump is so racist. Trump is against immigrants. No, you made the agreement to be here, to experience this. And there's something within you that has bought into third dimension, 3D. You are a contributing factor to 3D, what is 3D? 3D is duality. You have bought into duality. You have bought into the illusion of individuality. That's why you're here. That's why your president is Donald Trump. And when you let go of the belief system of duality and individuality, then you will shift to a new earth where there will be no Donald Trump as president and there will be no Illuminati. But until that point, you're just as responsible as everyone else for him being president. Take accountability for it. Now, for all of you Magi who are starting out and really studying and very diligent about your work, I can give you a pass and God can give you a pass. But who we cannot give a pass to is those in the conspiracy theory arena or those who call themselves spiritualists who are up there talking about how bad Trump is. How dare you say that? How dare you do that? As a spiritual person, you should know better that Trump is not bad. Trump is the vehicle by which you will stretch your spiritual muscle, by which you will come into the realization of who you are, God. So let Trump say everything he wants. Let him start a war. Let him build a wall, because it is going to push you and push you so that you can depend on nothing else but your own divine power. Now, one of the individuals that I really take a liking to, he's not all perfect, but is Russell Brand. If you don't know who he is, he's an actor, English actor. And the failure of his movie Arthur, which is a remake, led him to a spiritual journey. And he now has a YouTube channel where he interviews different spiritual people. One of those individuals is a woman by the name of Marianne Williamson, who talks about what's going on with Trump and how the spiritual community needs to react. And for her to say the things that she did is inexcusable. And I'm going to play a little bit about a little clip from Russell Brand's interview with her. And I want you to hear something that she says. Here are a couple of things that she says. Number one, she talks about democracy, is that we want a democracy. You do not want a democracy. You want a republic, because a republic is ruled by the people and for the people. You don't want a democracy. Let's get that straight. She talks about how none of this came out of nowhere, which is true. But specifically, she also uses the analogy of the hydra, cutting one head off and it grows another. And I totally agree with that. I've always talked about that so you can understand. But besides that, she is way off base with a lot of things that she's saying, but I think it's a good learning experience for you to hear her. And I'm going to break down a little bit about what she's talking about so we can take away some real knowledge here and get ourselves on the right path. So again, her name is Marianne Williamson, and she's being interviewed by Russell Brand. So just listen to what she has to say about Donald Trump.
Have long existed.
Well, two things. First of all, if you have two major political parties, both of whom set the idea of the businessman up to be God, then it shouldn't surprise anyone from a metaphysical perspective that the worst kind of devilish perversion of that image would appear on the scene.
Wow.
That was created by that. But secondly, we had reached a point in our society where we thought we had a consensus. It's not like anyone thought racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, homophobia, misogyny, xenophobia didn't exist in America. But we thought we had reached a consensus that there were lines past which we would not go. We thought we had reached a consensus that no major political institution, any political party, etc., would give a serious political megaphone to those forces. One party thought, well, we'll bring them in just because they'll vote for us, and then we'll moderate them once they get in, which didn't work. And also with social media, and then you have someone like a President Trump who's willing to harness all that for political purposes, and you have the kind of crisis that we have now. But once again, and I think that those of us in the spiritual community have a lot to look at in ourselves, because none of this came out of nowhere. None of this could have happened had we not taken democracy for granted, had we not thought somebody else, I'm not political, somebody else will handle that. That's what we've learned about this. We've learned how naive we were. You can never take democracy for granted. It's just like health. And that's why this is a perfect place to be discussing this. You have to take care of your nutrition. You have to take care of your exercise. You have to take care of your spiritual path, your lifestyle, all kinds of things. You can't not cultivate health. Just wait till sickness almost inevitably arises and seek through allopathic means alone to just eradicate or suppress the symptoms. That model of allopathic medicine has now given way to an integrative approach. We need to do that with society. You can't not cultivate justice, not cultivate mercy, not cultivate democracy, not cultivate compassion, not look at mass incarceration because it's not in your neighborhood, not look at wealth inequality because it's not in your neighborhood, not look at what's happening to the food supply because you can drink green juice. You can't do that and then be all shocked when this explosion of dysfunction and anti-democratic assault happens. Now it's the 11th hour. We can handle this. I think we're going to move through this, but we have to change. And that includes taking responsibility as citizens for our part in it getting to this point. We have to change. Martin Luther King said there have to be, we need external quantitative changes in our circumstances and qualitative changes in our souls. We all have to be the immune cells now. And I think this awakening is happening. I'm not saying this from a place of thinking it's not happening, because I think actually it is happening. I think that the Trump phenomenon and the crisis in our democracy right now has caused a lot of awakening. But this awakening must be permanentized, because if we don't, first of all, if we don't have this awakening, we won't defeat these forces even temporarily. If we are temporary with our awakening, then even if we, let's say, defeat the president, that hydra has many heads. We have to remain awake. Citizenship has to become a part of our sense of what it is to be a conscious human being on a whole new level for the sake of your children and the sake of mine.
I really like that.
All right. So what she talked about was a bunch of BS, a bunch of nonsense, convoluting the issue, talking about homeopathic medicine. And I get where she's going. She's trying to look at things from a holistic perspective, but she has no clue about spirituality. All right. First and foremost, let me just break down what she's saying. She's basically supporting the democratic system. She's supporting the system of the two-party system. And I've just told you it has to come down. It is corrupt. There's nothing you can do to reform it. It is evil and it must be reformed. And I did a video about this, starseeds who have come to make a radical change. And the first individuals that have incarnated are the indigos, and their purpose is to tear down the system. Do you see how she places the emphasis on Trump as if he is the purveyor and he is the progenitor of all that's evil? And then she goes and says, well, you know what? We weren't on watch. And this is how somebody like him came into office. Somebody like him came into office because the whole system is corrupt, and they allowed him and they planned it so that he can come into a position of power, so that he can assume the throne. What she should be talking about is radical change, 49th hexagram of the I-ching, revolution. That's what she should be talking about. You can't make a deal with the devil. You've got to say, listen, you wrecked the planet, you've done so much damage, you got to go. You and your system have got to go. Next, you have to talk about, she talks about making a permanent change and us being vigilant. You have to understand that the majority of the planet, the majority of the planet's population is savage. We are savages. I've talked about this before. We are psychologically schizophrenic. When you subscribe to the Hegelian dialectic, when you subscribe to the idea of individuality, meaning good, bad, right, wrong, and you have not learned to integrate these things, you create a schizophrenic attitude within yourself. Everything you see is against you, because you have this idea that there intrinsically are things that are good and intrinsically are things that are bad. God, Tahuti, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, has taught us that nothing in life has a quality in and of itself. Life is meaningless. It's your perspective, it's your value system that you color things with that gives them their meaning and definition. Do you understand? You are labeling and defining things erroneously that don't have a label, that don't intrinsically have a definition. So you can't say Trump is bad, because in reality, who you are is consciousness, and you share the same consciousness as Trump. So you cannot oppose yourself, because all things are one. And the more you get caught up in that individuality or in that idea of separate things, then the more you will vibrationally shift to a parallel world where those things exist, because you cannot interact or be a part of something that you're not vibrationally aligned to. The reason why you don't have $1 million sitting in front of you, because you're not vibrationally aligned to having that. If you were vibrationally aligned, you would manifest it right away. Do you understand what I'm saying here? And she's talking nonsense. This is the pseudo-spirituality people who are given the mic, and everything they spew is contrary to the way things should be and should go. I'm listening to her go on and on. The answer is very simple. She's making it more complex than it is, equating homeopathy to this, going off in a tangent, talking about democracy, and she doesn't understand that that's not the system of government we should have. You are a divine being. You have God's intelligence within you, Tahuti. You do not need government to tell you what to do. You do not need a church to give you morals. You are moral by nature. You're not sinner by nature. Now, if you choose to see Donald Trump as your enemy and you subscribe to that, then you're going to be trapped here in left brain ideological thinking. That's where you're going to be. You're going to remain here until you learn a lesson. And if you don't learn in this lifetime, you're going to die, be reincarnated, and do it all over again. Until you come to the understanding that, you know what, no matter who's in office, nothing's going to change, and that there's nothing that's really evil or bad, because everything, as the I-ching oracle said, serves to further my development. Pain here, challenges here, bring it on. Hey, it's going to help me grow spiritually. It's going to help me increase my magical power. Hey, I am a God. Therefore, I take responsibility for the fact that I chose to be here, to help others, to guide them in the right direction. Let me greet the Magi's. Dozier, Pharaoh Dozier, Hetepu, Joseph, Namaste, Michael Oser, Uhuru Nefer, El Glass, Hetepu, Truth Seeker, Hetep, Porky's Podcast, woo, Namaste. Derek Joseph, what's up? Tap. I'm really trying to get you to wrap your head around and rewire the synaptic connections in your brain so you can start to see things differently and therefore have a new experience within the matrix. Because if you're tired of life kicking your ass, then you need to start to understand that you need to make a change. And I tell people this all the time. Stop labeling and defining things. Stop saying this is bad, this is good, this is ugly, this is right, this is wrong, because you are creating that world. Yes, you are. People say, well, why do you meditate for 5 hours a day straight through? Because I am an architect. I am designing the world that I want. We were shooting a commercial the other day, and my mate, she was driving, and I hit traffic, but I was able to get around it and get to the set very early, and I had the production crew set up. But my mate had texted me and said that she was running late because there was an accident, there was traffic, and we were about to shoot the scene because they were going to use her in the shot, and we needed her quickly, and she didn't know what to do, and we couldn't stop the schedule. We had to press forward. And I just looked, I just said to her, I said, you know what? I'm going to meditate for 5 seconds and see you get here on time. I am going to manipulate the very fabric of this reality so that you can get through all of that traffic. And as soon as I did that, I looked up. 10 minutes later, she's walking in. And still other people, the producers and everybody was still late, have still held up in traffic, but she made it just in time. Now, when faced with that adversity, I channeled my spiritual power to get her there. Got in the makeup on time, we shot it, it went smooth. I was so happy. And I actually did that exercise earlier that day because she was very nervous and she was calling me about, like what was her call time? No one was communicating with her. I said, well, everybody's busy. It's the day of the production. But I said, you know what? I am going to visualize people getting in contact with you. So when I did that, not only right away did the producer hit me up with an email saying, oh yeah, when is she going to get there? But the producer on set was holding things up just for her. And I didn't realize that. He's like, oh, when she's going to get here because I'm pushing back some of the schedule just for her. Now, mind you, all she's doing is an extra role. But I had done a sufficient amount of magic to where she became important. And that's a little example of what I'm talking about, is relying on your own power and not that of external things. Don't rely on a president, a CEO, some institution to assist you. Rely on you. The I-ching talks about you've given your magic tortoise away, meaning that you now are not relying on your magic. You're relying on physical circumstances, which will let you down every time. Donald Trump, JFK, Obama, I don't care who it is, whatever name they come as, they will not save you. They will not give you tax breaks. They're not going to do anything that's going to improve the quality of your life. So when someone asks you who you're voting for, none of the above. I don't take part into that two-party system. Two choices is really no choice. So I wanted to impart that message to you, truth seekers. So how do we start making that change? You make that change, I just said it, by your belief system. This is this whole thing I've been talking about, your belief system. You've subscribed to third dimension, 3D, duality. You believe that there are things in this world that are separate from you, hence is why you are experiencing the things that you're experiencing. Stop believing in that. Subscribe to the idea that you are one with all things and that nothing is apart from you. Do you understand? When you do that, you're going to incrementally start to shift to a new earth. It's not going to happen at once. You're going to see the quantum leaps happen in microdoses to where you're going to start shifting to a new world where 3D no longer exists. So ra'at kaba hetepu ankama'at. This is the whole meaning of the judgment scene when you go before Oser, and your heart is weighed against a feather, keeping your heart still to live truth. You notice you have Oser, who is a symbol of the mummy, because he is still impartial. Do you understand? He's not subscribing to labels, definitions. He's not coloring things with his own beliefs and perspectives. So get with the program. In fact, I excommunicate people who are into that type of labeling and defining things. I don't want to hear that, because those people typically are the ones that complain a lot about life. You need to be around people who, when challenges hit, the first thing they say is, oh, my person's going to go home and do a ritual. My person's going to close my eyes and meditate, and I'm going to see the situation working to my favor. That's the type of people you need to be around, because they're going to help you to come into the realization of your God power, and not to look at life as though external things can get you out of trouble. No, they're the things that got you in trouble. So, my beloveds, I'm just trying to get you to understand that. The Tepu doorkeeper, namaste. I'm trying to get you to understand that your belief system directly affects and creates the world around you. And if you don't like it, change your belief system. And you've got to be vigilant about your thoughts, because those thoughts, negative ideas, will creep in, and you've got to push them out. So what I want you to do as part of your homework is, when you go to sleep at night, meditate for about 30 minutes. Visualize how you want the next day to go. Well, I'm going to wake up, get to work on time. I'm going to have a great interaction with my boss and the other employees. I'm going to really knock it out the park. I'm going to do such a great job. People are going to be complimenting me. I'm going to increase my productivity. People are going to be very happy with my performance. My boss is going to talk about a raise. Yes, visualize all of those things. I visualize that. I get to work and I sit there and I say, well, today's going to go smoothly. I'm going to get this done, that done. And I see that pretty girl over there. I'm going to have sex with her in a bit. But anyway, I'm just kidding. Pay attention now. Visualize really positive stuff happening, and you watch, because you have to be observant. Watch how it starts to unfold. Now, it's a process. It may not happen that same day because you're learning to use your power. All right. But if you keep using it, you're going to build momentum to where it's going to bend. Reality will start to bend to your will. Again, let me explain it. It may not happen right away. You have these individuals out there who go, well, I tried that for a couple of days and it didn't happen. Did you ever try to run a marathon? Did you run the marathon the first day? No. Did you quit? No. So why would you quit this? It's no different. It takes time for you to build your spiritual muscle. Do you want to look like what does your spirituality look like? Does it look like Pee Wee Herman? Or does it look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? Full of muscles. Pump me up. You want your spiritual power to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't want it to be Pee Wee Herman. But how did Arnold Schwarzenegger get to where he's at? Pumping that damn iron. So you are going to have to work at it every day. Visualize the world you want until it comes to manifestation. And if it don't get disheartened. Don't get upset. Don't get depressed. It may take time. Jane Doe, it may happen for her the first week, but you, it may take 30 days because we all are wired differently. Some people are incarnated into this existence with a strong belief system, with a strong faith in the spiritual and the supernatural. Therefore, it'll be easier for them to manifest things in their life. But since you are born to an accountant and a lawyer, as your mother and father, you're very logical, you're very critical. So it's going to take 2 months for things to happen because you have to get rid of that left brain thinking and embrace right brain thinking. So it may take a little longer for you, but rest assured it will happen. And when you see it happens, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to frighten you because you're going to realize, wow, you mean I've been going through life not realizing that I'm controlling everything? Yes. You've been in a stupor state. Because the Illuminati has to convince you that you have no control in how your life unfolds. They have to convince you that there is duality, that there is an outside world. They have to keep reinforcing that and convince you of that to control you. They have to get you to give up your magic tortoise, to give up your power. What? Did you expect them to educate you on your spiritual power? Did you expect them to reveal the truth that you're a God man, God woman? They'd be stupid to do that. Because you would turn around and use your power against them to create a very prosperous world, the 11th hexagram of the I-ching. Prosperity, peace. So they've got to hide this secret from you. They've got to keep this knowledge from you. Just like when I meet a pretty sexy girl, I don't go tell her how great I am in bed. She'll find that out. But I digress. You understand what I'm saying. You play poker. You're not going to reveal your hand in poker. People talk about, I don't believe in Illuminati. I don't believe that someone's ruling the planet. Where are they at? Where? Oh, do you think they're going to be on TV announcing, hey, we rule the planet? No, they're not going to do that. They'd be dumb. So, do not blame the Donald. Do not blame the Senate. Look within and say to yourself, have I subscribed to left brain linear thinking? Is that the root of the problem? Yes. And start to meditate and visualize the world you want. Visualize yourself coming into money, coming into a better job, better car, better house, better wife, better husband, better government. Visualize these things. And when the challenges and the obstructions hit you, don't go, woe is me. Say, okay, this is meant for me to stretch my spiritual muscle. If you're lifting 50 pounds, it does no good when you're working out to keep lifting 50 pounds. You're going to have to put some more weights on there so you can grow big and strong. Otherwise, you're just going to plateau and never get anywhere. I mean, there's sometimes I work hard and I'm dead tired, but I have to push myself because I want to get there, because I so want to be a master magician. I so want to be Oser. I have a passion for that. And you should have that same passion, because once you tasted blood, you want more. I tasted what it's like to be able to manipulate time and space, to manipulate the forces of the universe. And I loved it. And I said, I want more. Go for it. I am Kasank Maat Keperu, son of Maat and Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Heteru Hathor. Until my next video, Amen Ra.